Imagine you are shivering in a vast, snow-covered forest in Georgia, where the biting cold turns every second into a struggle for survival. In the darkness, you stumble upon two small, glowing hot metal objects, radiating warmth like a magical furnace in the middle of a blizzard. They feel like a saving grace, a promise to pull you back from the jaws of death. But what if someone whispers that this miracle is actually a radioactive bomb, ready to incinerate your body from the inside out? Do you run away, or do you hold on to it for one last bit of warmth? This is the true story from 2001 in the village of Leah, where three men accidentally touched this hot death, triggering a horrific tragedy that cost them their lives and left a painful lesson for them to better understand these true medical tragedies and the horrific lessons from history. Be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video from Dr. Late Life. And now, let's begin the story. It was a winter afternoon in 2001, and a thick blanket of snow covered the mountains of Salonjica, Georgia. The cold was a physical thing, a knife-like chill that sliced through the air. The wind howled through the old-growth forest near the Ignore Dam, seeming to freeze every living thing. Three men from the village of Leah, simple farmers named DN, MG, and MB, later referred to by the IAEA as Patients 1 D.N, 2 M.G, and 3 M.B, drove their beat-up truck along a muddy, nearly impassable road to collect firewood. They were pillars of their families, hoping to bring a little warmth back to their wives and children during the harsh winter. "We have to get enough wood today, or the whole family will be cold," DN whispered, his breath turning white in the murky air. The bone-deep cold left their hands and feet numb, every step feeling like a 1,000-pound weight. Then, around 6 p.m., as darkness began to swallow the forest, they stumbled upon two strange objects, cylindrical, gray metal cores, only about 10 centimeters by 15 centimeters, but weighing a surprising 8 to 10 kilograms each. Around them, the snow had melted into puddles, and the ground was steaming hot, as if an underground fire was burning. MB, the youngest and most daring of the group, picked up one of the cores, but quickly dropped it because it was so hot. "It's so hot. What is this?" he exclaimed, but not with fear, rather with a mix of awe and joy. To them, this wasn't a threat. It was a gift from nature, a priceless source of heat in the dead of winter. They imagined they were glowing embers from deep within the earth, or perhaps the remnants of some forgotten old machine. Hope exploded inside them. MG laughed, his voice full of excitement. "We're lucky. We won't need to burn as much wood." They used a sturdy wire to move the two cores to a sheltered rock, turning them into a portable stove. Sitting around them, they ate a simple dinner and drank some vodka, feeling the warmth spread through their thick clothes, chasing away the deadly cold. DN leaned against one of the cores, just 10 centimeters away, feeling as though his blood was coming back to life. He quietly whispered to himself, "It's so warm, like being embraced by Mother Nature." It was a moment of absolute innocence, a simple joy found in survival, standing in stark contrast to the disaster that was already taking root. But then, the strangeness began to show. Why was the snow melting without a fire? Their curiosity urged them to keep the cores even closer, even carrying them on their backs the next morning as they gathered wood. They only managed to get half the wood they intended, and their bodies felt unusually exhausted. Just 3 hours after their meal, a wave of violent nausea hit them and lasted all night. The initial joy was now giving way to confusion. Must be some bad vodka, they told themselves, but deep down, a vague sense of unease was starting to creep in. The initial confusion quickly gave way to consuming fear. Arriving home that evening, their bodies felt drained of all life. 2 days later, on December 4th, MG went to see a local doctor, but he never mentioned the strange source of heat, perhaps out of embarrassment or simply not thinking it was important. The doctor shook his head, diagnosing him with alcohol poisoning and prescribing medication, which temporarily eased his symptoms. But by December 15th, the real horror began. DN and MG felt a burning, itching sensation on their backs, like fire on their skin, which began to peel away. DN also lost his voice and his throat felt dry and charred from the inside out. What is happening to me? Dian thought, a flood of terror rising as he looked in the mirror at his ulcerated skin. The indifference of the world around them only amplified their despair. MV's wife and MG's brother noticed the three men had similar symptoms, vomiting, fatigue, and peeling skin, and notified the police. But even when they were hospitalized on December 22nd, the initial diagnoses remained vague. The local doctors lacked knowledge about radiation and treated it as a common illness. "They don't believe us," MG whispered in his hospital room, a feeling of loneliness crushing his heart. They lay there, helpless against an invisible enemy, strontium, 90 from abandoned Soviet-era Art-G cores, emitting 4.6 sieverts per hour, enough to kill at close range. Their fear peaked when they finally realized that the warm gift was the culprit, but it was already too late. Then, the final diagnosis arrived: acute radiation syndrome, ARES. That unfamiliar name sounded like a death sentence. From hoping for a simple recovery, they completely fell apart. "Am I going to die?" Dian wondered, tears streaming down his pale face. The estimated total body doses were staggering. Dian received 2.8 to 5.4 grays, MG 3.3 to 5.7 grays, and MB 1.2 to 2.3 grays. A dose of 6 grays is enough to cause death in 50% of cases. The localized injuries were even more horrific. Dian endured 21 to 37 grays on his shoulder, a definitively lethal dose. The separation began when the Georgian government appealed to the IAEA for help. On January 23, 2002, MB was discharged due to his less severe injuries, but Dian and MG were transferred far away, Dian to the Bernasian Federal Medical Biophysical Center in Moscow, and MG to the Percy Military Hospital in Paris. "Goodbye, my brothers," they whispered, their sorrow cutting like a knife as they were torn from their homeland and families. It was a tragedy of isolation. Three friends who had shared the gift of death now each faced a different fate. The divergent outcomes only deepened the pain. MB recovered, but MG suffered for over a year. His skin was severely burned, requiring multiple painful skin grafts. He was discharged on March 18, 2003, having survived but scarred for life. Dian, who received the highest dose, faced a prolonged living hell. The massive radiation ulcer on his left shoulder never healed, eating away at his flesh, accompanied by heart and lung damage. Tuberculosis complicated everything, antibiotics were useless, and surgery failed. Dian would wonder during the long nights at the hospital, "Why must I suffer like this?" Despair gnawing at him every day. He died on May 13, 2004, from heart failure after a grueling 893-day battle, not a sudden death, but a silent, prolonged torture from the radiation. The incident didn't end there. The IAEA led a campaign to recover the radioactive sources on February 2nd to 3rd, 2002, amidst harsh weather. Operating from the village of Potsko-Etseri as their base, a team of 24 people used a 5.5-ton lead container and specialized tools to retrieve the two cores, with the highest dose received being just 1.16 MSV, safer than a full-body CT scan. The sources were taken for permanent storage, but two other cores from the same set remain missing. The IAEA's report criticized the illegal abandonment and lack of warning labels, emphasizing the critical need to educate doctors about the signs of radiation sickness. From 1991 to 2006, the IAEA recovered 300 orphan sources in Georgia, a dangerous legacy of the Soviet Union's collapse. The death of Dian and the suffering of the others were not in vain. They served as a brutal wake-up call to the world about the danger of orphan radioactive sources, prompting stricter management. From naive hope to tragic despair, the story of Leah is a painful reminder that in the shadow of a past legacy, a devastating lesson can save lives in the future. If you found this story compelling and want to explore more medical mysteries, rare diseases, and historical tragedies, subscribe to Dr. Late Life for new videos every week. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.